What are the steps in taking your idea all the way to manufacturing, fulfillment, and seeing your product on the shelves? Making the product is a very complex process. Depending what the product is, that process can be shorter or longer, cheaper or pricier. However, everything in that process is the same. If you have just an idea or even the concept, that process is the same. Only what we're going to save there is probably just a little bit of time if you have a concept, which will give us a clearer picture of what you want. Most of the time, our clients just have idea, maybe some sketches, written description, and that's perfectly fine. That will be the first step. You give us all the information that you have. From there, we take it into the first phase. First phase is how we like to call it industrial or the concept phase. We're taking what you give to us and we're creating something that we can actually see it on the screen. We call them renderings, but that's basically a design based on your input information. That's a very important first step. Once when we agree on shape, maybe even the color, dimensions, material, manufacturing process, more or less, we can proceed to the stage 2. And if you have some type of electrical parts inside the component, then that stage 2 basically is going to split into the stage 2A and stage 2B. But let's focus now only on the stage 2 without any other components. So let's say your product is piece of plastic, right? It's a product that contains just 3 parts, and we're going to use for this example injection molding, because that's most of the time consumer products are created from plastic, and injection molding is the most common technology that is being used right now around the world. So we have the concept from the first phase, and the second phase is engineering. We are taking that concept and adapting it to become ready for prototyping and manufacturing. So difference between hiring a designer and the firm or engineer who has designer experience is huge. That designer, in 90% of the time, from our experience, what we saw, cannot design that unit to be ready for manufacturing. It's going to look great, it's going to look amazing, but it's just a picture. When we are designing something, even from the concept, we are designing on that way that can be made, meaning we can make a physical unit out of it. So stage 2 is really important for that part. We're taking what we made in the concept 1, those renderings, images, right, and creating a 3D model based on that. That 3D model is going to be created in any of our softwares. We most of the time are using a SolidWorks or something from the Autodesk package. It doesn't really matter. The end file is the same. And that model is going to be made so we can make it in our shop, no matter 3D printing or, as I mentioned, injection molding, if it's made out of plastic or any other type of similar material. However, the next phase after the prototype is mass manufacturing. That prototype, we are most of the time going into the 1 to 2 or 3 rounds of prototyping, so we can determine if the size is good, if the prototype functions well, or if the color is good, right? Once that's determined, the next phase and the final phase, as I mentioned, is the manufacturing. In the case of us using the injection molding, first step there in that phase is creating the tooling or so-called mold. That takes around 30 to 45 days, and then we are going into a 3 round of trials if necessary. The first round is basically taking out the samples from the mold itself. So it takes 30 to 45 days to make that mold. Then we run the mold, we create the samples. If samples are good, we are sending that to a client. If samples are not good, we inform the client, we adjust our machine parameters and create a trial number 2. So in our experience, it takes 2 to 3 trials to make everything perfect. Most of the time, trial 2 is sent to the client so they can review and give their feedback. If we are satisfied with that trial, we send it to the client. If we are not, we adjust it, we fix it, and then we send it to the client. Every mold adjustment takes around 7 days. And the most common question that we get is how long it takes to produce 10,000 units? Well, it really depends. It depends how many cavities that mold have. Mold can have multiple cavities or only single cavity. The more cavities you have, the faster you can produce more units, but you may lose on the precision and the quality, and the mold is much bigger. It's much more expensive. In our case, in our shop, most common molds are 1 or 2 cavities. Anything bigger than that, it's really huge and it's really expensive. So how long it takes? So if we're doing the mold, it takes 35, let's say 45 days maximum for the mold. Then additional 5 days to create the samples. Let's say the trial 1 is good. Trial 1 units are sent to the client. Client gives a feedback. It usually takes about a week or so, or 2 weeks. So we are already at almost 2 months, right? And the 60 days. So 60 days from the beginning of the mold all the way to client feedback. And let's say the perfect situation, client is super happy, satisfied, and we can go into production. From the moment of confirmation, production usually takes for 10,000 units around 20 days in the best case scenario. Sometimes we have to reproduce some units, but let's say 20 to 30 days from beginning to the end of production. On top of that, you have to add a shipping, and that will be it. So from the beginning of making the mold or tooling, all the way in the perfect world, all the way to the manufacturing and making, let's say 10,000 units, you're looking at around 2 to 2.5 months, maybe even 3, in the perfect world. What we're seeing most of the time is from beginning to the first samples and then manufacturing 10,000 units, it's about 3 to 4 months. That's kind of average. But it's possible to do it faster. It really depends how product complexity is and the client feedback. Don't get caught in, let's call it scam, that some companies are just giving you the mold, they design the files for you, they're not actually giving you the mold files, they're just giving you the files from the production. You always want to own that mold. You always want to be 100% owner of the mold itself. If not, then that company can take advantage of you and completely keep you hostile. So you have to make all the units with them. In our process, in our firm, what we do is the first step is you make a payment for the mold. And that's it. When we make a mold, you have a complete choice. We can ship that mold wherever you want. It's not a big deal. Keep in mind that mold is very heavy. 500 pounds, 1,000 pounds, really heavy. However, it didn't happen yet to us. The client wants to ship mold somewhere, but you own it. Anytime you want, we can just stop the production and give you the mold. You own it. Same with the files. So that will be the interesting part of this story. Overall, timeline 30 to 45 days for the mold, additional 25 to 30 days for production, include shipping, include feedbacks, 3 to 4 months for the production and shipping.